John, some people they vex for me. I tell them,
Say,
say, number one, say malaria and typhoid, they don't be brothers and sisters, they vex. Number two, I now said that nothing like high typhoid. There is no diagnosis like high typhoid. It's either you get typhoid or you don't get them. Number three, I now said that the Widal test is no longer the gold standard to make a diagnosis of typhoid. Some of your
okay.
colleagues can they vex with me, can they drag in the comment section. So please, sir,
For
do
here,
you share from for my page? So do you share same thoughts with me,
okay.
or you are in another school of thought? I beg, over to you, sir.
Make I, what's that? Um make I clarify the things. Now, number one, typhoid. What you first told me, or what you first said, typhoid is not um a sibling to malaria. Unfortunately, especially in Nigeria, it has become a what I call a rip-off. People have been deceived plenty times to believe that they have typhoid. And one thing that I say that shocks a lot of my patients is that if you have typhoid, you won't be here telling me with your mouth that you have typhoid. And it shocks them. And I let them know for sure that that is just it. I've seen typhoid, like training, house job, and all exposures. I've seen typhoid, real typhoid. Maybe say they do the original test. Actually, you're about to say it, so probably shouldn't go there yet. They did the test and they saw that, in fact, this person had complications already, like you were mentioning when I stepped in. Hello. So a lot of people are deceived already to think that um typhoid. Whenever you have malaria, you must treat typhoid because if you not treat malaria, the typhoid go. My God. So that's wrong. Second thing I want to emphasize is, and I hope that we'll draw more emphasis on it as the show goes on, is the issue of Widal's test. To be honest with you, I be like say make we count the amount of money that Widal don't make for some hospitals. It's very wrong to think in 2024 to still believe that somebody can detect that you have typhoid, salmonella typhi in your system using Widal's test. And one thing that I used to compare it, because not everybody will understand the antibody antigen reaction. I try to say, okay, do you know that if you had COVID before and they did an antibody test for COVID for you right now, you don't have COVID though, but do you know that that test will bring out positive because the antibodies are still in your body? Does it now mean that you have COVID? So that's how I just summarize the whole Widal thing for them, and they get it. But I think we still have a lot of work to do. It is not for diagnosing at all. You shouldn't waste your money. And
Any little thing, everybody, malaria and typhoid. And it's so sad that if you don't include typhoid for these patients, the patient go talk, say you don't know your work. The patient will now go to see another of your colleague, your own colleague, doctor,
that one now
your
add
colleague.
type.
That one will now have typhoid. Then they will now say that one sabi
Oh
work pass
God,
you. You will no make a diagnosis of typhoid for them. You know sabi work.
God,
Dr.
God,
John,
God,
over to you,
God.
sir.
All right. Speaking from the aspect of complications of typhoid, I don't know if we have mentioned all of them, but number one, I see it as a general thing. It can affect all the systems of the body. In fact, it can make person mad. This will shock you, but I like starting from the head, from the brain. Those parasites can get into the brain and begin to cause some things we call focal neurologic deficits, focal sensory deficits, and even mental issues, because it depends on the part of the brain that this thing goes to. It can go on to cause chest infections. So some people think typhoid is only the stomach and I'm going to toilet, belle and toilet. No, it's not even just fever alone. Things wey pass fever dey, right? Or people think it's just headache. It's beyond that. Some people can have lung infections and they'll check it and to be salmonella paratyphi or salmonella typhoid, right? That's what is causing the typhoid. So it can cause chest infections, right? It can go on to cause bone infections. In fact, that is one of the ways to confirm the the parasites. You take bone aspirations and check that the parasite is inside the bone. Can cause bone infection, especially in people with sickle cell. They are very prone to salmonella, right? Now, these are just core symptoms, and I'm consciously going far away from what people used to think that is only stomach and malaria. All these things is not near malaria. They are far from malaria. They are higher up. If you are thinking of the veracity of the symptoms and the chronicity, or how terrible these things are, malaria no even reach there. Although we have severities of malaria as well. And so moving on, before we now come to the digestive path, where it can cause all the diarrhea that I think I heard Dr. Fred talking about it, the diarrhea, the bloating, the abdominal distension, that's abdominal pain, vomiting, fever, and all those things. That's a very common one, right? And that's more common because of the route of ingestion. I don't know if Dr. Fred mentioned that typhoid is actually a fecal fecal orally if in fact if people come to tell me that they have typhoid, I will jokingly tell them, so which shit did you eat? Because that's what they're telling you. You need, you have eaten somebody's poo poo because it's fecal oral, right? So I'm moving on. We also have symptoms that have to do with some other organs of the body, like the liver, the kidney. These guys can practically permeate into all of these things and cause conditions beyond what you think. This is typhoid. This is typhoid. So sometimes what you think is typhoid may not be typhoid, right? And most times what you think is typhoid is not typhoid. So most times it is on investigations that will now check and see how this thing was actually caused by salmonella. So it's very, very wrong to say that you have typhoid, right? From just a how you are feeling, or to conclude that if you are treating malaria, you are treating typhoid. No. I think that I think that one of the these deceptions or misconceptions started from way back when typhoid was actually like there was a pandemic, like the way we see cholera today, something like that, and a lot of people actually maybe passed on with typhoid, and that's even where the Widal test came, because Widal was like a rapid test, like a fast way to detect, because the time you use to mix serum and find out antibodies and check if which one is agglutinating, and the time it will take to go and be running all those maybe microscopy and all those, this one looks faster, right? And then less training was required to
Hmm.
do it. So a common primary six holder can be taught how to do Widal test, right? Instead of going to do microscopy, that you have to be a med lab scientist before you can actually detect it. So that's why it's rampant. So it's everywhere. So it's like you're just giving your blood to somebody to just do one small test, and the person will now tell you that whether clinical 1/80, 1/160, high, like I'm Dr. Friend said, high typhoid. Hey, and and they will rip you, they will get money from it. It's about 4,000, 5,000, if I'm not wrong, these days. And people, a lot of hospitals run on it, and it's very, very wrong. It's very wrong.